Aloha, I'm Reverend Tim Lytle, Senior Minister here at Unity Church of Hawaii in Honolulu. And we are so grateful for all of you who watch us on our YouTube channel. We know with you that as you view these teachings and apply them to your lives, that it helps to build your life into the very best one that can be imagined. If you're ever in the area, please come and join us for a service, and please enjoy the message that you're about to watch. Aloha.
Thank you, Faith. That was beautiful. Thank you. That song is Mary's song about surrendering to the process of giving birth to the Son of God, giving birth to Jesus, giving birth to this amazing divine presence. And we are called to do that in our day, to give birth to the divine presence. We are called to give birth in our day to the Christ. But it's not always easy, yeah? It's not always easy to give birth. If we could have the... Never? It's never easy? I've talked to a couple of women who said, oh, it's easy. Oh, really? Oh, okay. That was very different from the experience with my son. But anyway. Okay. Now, I want to thank Ralph and Don for providing their baby picture. Just kidding. Sometimes birth can be a painful process. Coming into the world can be painful. And bringing a new life into the world can be painful, yeah? And when we are giving birth to something new in our lives, that can be painful. That can be stretching. It can really stretch us. I know that anybody who has ever given birth has stretched. So... It's just a fact. Nothing wrong with it. But how big is your vision? Is your vision big enough that only the presence of God could accomplish it? Is your vision so big that it will stretch you beyond your comfort zone? Is your vision so big that when it is born, people say, wow, that's a vision? But there can be labor pains along the way, yeah? When my son was born, early days of February, he was born on February 4th, but, oh, wow, that was a long process, those 9 months. And then his mom went into contractions, labor. Now, we were in the foothills of the Ozarks. It was my first church that I had ever been the senior minister, in the foothills of the Ozarks. And there was a little county hospital. Very nice people, wonderful doctor. And they probably would not do this with women today. But we counted the number of hours of labor, and it was 32 hours. Yeah, that was some labor. Now, obviously, his mom was carrying the biggest brunt of that, but I was there to give support through all of that, and sometimes support her back, and sometimes just help relieve the pain, and trying to be this peaceful presence in the midst of things that aren't always peaceful. And even after, the water broke, hours. And it's like, this intensified the contractions but did not speed up the process. Just made it more miserable. So finally they got her ready. Oh, Marissa, thank you for bringing your baby. What is your baby's name? Brixton. Good. How old is Brixton? 4 months. So good to have Brixton here. And so they said, we got to take her to the operating room. Forget labor and delivery. We're going to take her to the operating room. And I was like, oh. So they gave her some medicine to prepare her for the operating room. Once they did that, then she began to relax enough, and they came out and found me, and I had just gotten my meal, and they said, hurry, come quick, scrub up, clean up. You need to come into the operating room. She's giving birth naturally. I'm like, oh! So I run in there, and oh, what an amazing process. You know, we had gone through all these Lamaze classes where, okay, breathe like this. You know, but after a while, I needed to just shut up and let her do what she needed to do. But I was there right beside her throughout. And the doctor said, no, we need you at this end, up here by her head. So I thought I was going to catch the baby. Anyway, so what a joy when my son John Mark came forth. You know, and I had seen pictures of babies, and babies are born looking different ways. He came out looking like a wrestler. He had these broad shoulders and like he was like a year old or something. What's going on here, you know? And what joy filled our heart. Yeah, she was exhausted. Yeah, I was tired, but we had so much joy. So I want to tell you that whatever Spirit is leading you to do and whatever is wanting to be born in, through, and as you, yes, it'll stretch you. It'll stretch your comfort zone. It'll stretch you in ways that you can't even imagine. But the joy that will replace that will be beyond belief. I want to share this passage of Scripture from Luke chapter 2. Luke chapter 2, verses 6 and 7. While they were there, that is, Joseph and Mary, the time came for the baby to be born. Let me pause there for a moment. A lot of people don't know this. My church history professor in seminary talked about this. There was a time in the early days of the Christian church, there were all kinds of controversies. We think maybe that only now is the time of controversies. There were lots of controversies then. And there was a controversy long time ago about this statement, for the baby to be born. There were those in the Christian movement who said that is not possible. Jesus could not be born. He appeared but could not be born. So they were already making Jesus so separate and so different that they didn't think that he could even succumb to the idea of being born. That somehow he just glided in on a golden chariot or something. I don't know what they thought. But no. Jesus chose to come like one of us. Jesus came as one of us. And came through not only the process that we came through to be born, but he came through this process where, as it goes on to say, she gave birth to her firstborn, a son. She wrapped him in cloths and placed him in a manger, which is a feeding trough. This is a feeding trough for animals. Not a crib. This isn't the hospital. Because there was no guest room available for them. They weren't even in a room, you know. So they were like immigrants. They had to travel to a different area of the country to register for a census. And they evidently didn't have friends or family to stay with. At this particular moment, they were homeless. So Jesus chose to not only be born, but to come into a situation where he would be born in a homeless situation, where he would be born away from home, where he would be born, obviously, in a place where there were animals. Okay? Yeah, one of us. but one of us who fully realized that presence of God living in, through, and as Him. Giving birth to that Christ presence. And so that beautiful song, Breath of Heaven, is about Mary submitting to being this avenue, this vessel to give birth to this Christ presence, which each one of us are called to do. Each one of us are called to give birth to this Christ presence. What does that mean? Well, first of all, it means that within you is that presence of God. Thank you. Crying out, and that was actually the word I was getting ready to say. Crying out to be born. Crying out to express. Crying out to come forth and to do something amazing. That Christ presence, that divine presence living in you is wanting to come forth. And in unity, we call that the Christ. In Sanskrit scriptures, it's called the Paramatma, this divine presence living in us. John chapter 1 says that everyone who came into the world came with this light. So that George Fox, the founder of the Friends movement, the Quakers, picked up on that verse and said, every one of us came in with the light. We don't have to pay a priest to get it. It's already here by just being. That Christ light exists in you and is wanting to express. And sometimes you feel holy dissatisfaction. Holy. Holy dissatisfaction. Dissatisfaction knowing that there is something more that you are called to do. Something that you are here to express. Something that Spirit is wanting to birth in, through, and as you. And you may resist it at first. You might say, who am I to give birth to that? Let someone else do it. Let me give someone else the idea. Maybe they'll pick up the ball and run with it. Again, if it comes to you, it's yours to do. So if that divine expression in you is wanting to come forth and is wanting to express, allow that, like that song was saying, surrendering to the process, knowing it will push you beyond what you think were your limits. And you will find that you're capable of much, much more than you realized. Yesterday, I was watching a video that was on Facebook. A friend of mine in Wichita. And this friend of mine is this beautiful young lady who is so shy. Most people have never heard her talk. And many times it would be a challenge for her just to get out of the house. Have you ever known somebody who had difficulty just getting out of the house? They didn't want to get out there. They just wanted to stay inside because the world felt scary. I saw a video of her yesterday. She decided to stretch herself. So she started taking dancing classes, which means dancing with other people, engaging with other people, and going to public places to dance. And so I see this video of her in this elegant black formal gown and black spiked heels and dancing with these different people, doing these amazing dances to all kinds of different rhythms, and you can just see the real her coming out. That's what I'm calling you to do. This is a great coming out party. We're here to bring out that Christ presence, to not retire from it, to not shy away from it, but to bring it forth, to give birth to the Christ as you. There is something amazing and unique wanting to be born as you. Tomorrow evening, we'll talk more about details, about how to do that, some principles by which to do that. At 6 o'clock tomorrow night, right here. But that presence, that Christ Spirit is wanting to be born as you. Today, every day, to touch the lives of those around you. There are so many people watching you, more than you realize. I think of Morris Shea. He was kind of in the background a lot of the time, but always doing whatever he could to serve and to love others. And just recently, he contacted us because on January 6th, we're going to have our burning bowl ceremony, where we will release those things that we no longer wish to have in our lives, and we will write them down on paper, and we will put them to the flame and release them. And then we will write a letter to God, our vision of what God is wanting to do forth as us. We will write a letter to God. And as happened last year, so this year also, Morris contacted us and said, I want to pay for all of that postage to send people their letters to God from last year. He would do these things behind the scenes. He didn't lecture to me a lot. He didn't tell me what I should do or shouldn't do. He just shined his light. And you can never extinguish that Christ light. Nothing can defeat it. It can never die. That light is eternal. Morris is actually not gone. He's just shifted into a whole other dimension. Each one of us here are to shine that light, to give birth to that light, to be the presence of God. One of the theologians that I love from the Middle Ages is Meister Eckhart. He was born around 1260. He was a Dominican priest and monk, an educator. He was a professor. And he has wonderful teachings. And his image of God is very, very, well, think, Middle Ages, Catholic Church, hierarchy. And during that time, what he was teaching is this, and this comes from Meister Eckhart. God lies on a maternity bed all day long and gives birth and creates. That was his image of God. Now, some of the priests were like, what? He was a little ahead of his time. Brought him up to tribunals, too, for things like that. But we are all here to give birth. That's why Mary is such a venerated character, because she's here giving birth to this divine presence, and that's what all of us are called to do. Let's give birth to that divine light, not only this Christmas, but every day. Aloha. Thank you.